privately at home. And he hooked me up with a couple people that I'm going to have on as guests, and one of them is going to be Marshall Masters.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I haven't talked to Marshall in, oh boy, quite some time. It's probably been
Yeah, I
a
spoke
couple
with
months.
Marshall Sunday for about 3 hours. God, he's a fascinating man.
Yeah, the last time I talked to him, he was just getting ready to release his next book, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this was about a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
he told me some things that kind of freaked me out, like because I was telling him about how I started doing my shows and how I got led into this topic, and he told me that he feels that I did this in a past life and that I came here to do this directly to help the people with the transition of crossing over.
well, I think I've been through a couple past lives to tell you the truth. There's no doubt about that. I think I was a 1930s Italian gangster in Chicago.
Oh my God, it's so weird that you said that, Scott, because I know I had a past life back then. I know all the music from back then, and I don't know how I know it. And I also had a couple vivid dreams with me wearing the, you know how they used to wear those hats back then? The women used to wear those hats.
Oh yeah,
And I had a couple dreams of me wearing those hats. And I had a past life vision of being an Indian. So I
yeah,
know I've had a few past lives.
yeah. I know I did. I had a whole series of dreams for about a year that took me from my birth all the way through my childhood in the turn of the century, 1900, 1901, all the way through the 1930s. And yeah, it was very vivid. I'll have to sit down and tell you about it one day, but it was a whole series of dreams, like going chapter through chapter in a book in vivid full color. And I mean, I did see a psychic lady friend of mine she's in her late 70s, but she actually confirmed it. She told me about it before I even mentioned it to her, and she's known pretty well in the law enforcement community. Oh, back in the late 70s here in the Pittsburgh area. She did a lot for helping finding missing children, missing people, unsolved murders, things of that nature. But she never made money off of she never made money off of any of it. She never wrote books or did anything. She just basically went around and helped people that were in need. This woman, she even cured herself of double breast cancer, which the doctors at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center were completely astounded when they diagnosed her with breast cancer. And she told them, I'll see you in 30 days and I will be cancer free. And when she went back in 30 days, she was cancer free.
And they don't like to hear that, do they, Scott?
Oh, no, no, no. They like to,
Say money, money.
yeah, they like to kill you theirself. But you know what? I started this live stream for us on YouTube. So right now we are live on YouTube. And
Okay, well, we got 60 seconds before I start my recording here. So
okay.
let me, what I'll do is I'll just get us started then. If we're running live already over there,
Yep,
I will go ahead and start us up here.
you got it. Let's rock and roll. The Nibiru channel and fight for our freedom radio.
Talk show. Recorded live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fight for Our Freedom Radio. And I'm your host, Bad Baby. And tonight we have with us Scott C1 from the Nibiru channel, and we will be taking your calls. So if you call in at 1-724-444-7444 and enter 43503 pound, and then 1 pound if you're not a member, and you will be in the room, it will say you are muted. If you wish to talk to Scott or ask a question, please push star 8, and that will raise your hand to us, and then we will unmute you in sequence. And we have Jeff in the room, and he says, hi, Scott, how are you tonight?
Tell them I said hello. What's happening, Jeff?
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Scott, let's start out with I want to ask you a little bit about this dam, the Oroville Dam that's about ready to break and drown everybody that's dumb enough to go back like rats.
Yeah, I got a lot of theories about that Oroville Dam. I have a good friend of mine, another Planet X investigator, Jeff P. And Jeff doesn't live too far from from that area, and he's already prepared himself for a complete evacuation. But we've both been studying this very, very hard. There's a lot of other YouTube channels, Mike from Around the World, Chris Potter, and BP Earthwatch, the Higher Truth channel. We've all been trying to keep an eye on the situation because this situation in Oroville can be absolutely devastating to the entire state, which will then spread all the way across the United States, because I'm not sure if a lot of people know or understand, but a lot of our food chain comes from that part of California. There's a lot of ranchers out there that raise cattle, that grow vegetables and fruits and things of that nature, and that all crisscrosses across our country. If something like that were to happen, a breach of that wall, I mean, that would send, we estimated, about anywhere from a 35 to a 50-foot wall of water straight down, and eventually it would make its way all the way to the state capital of Sacramento. And this would literally just wipe everything out, the whole entire town of Oroville. Then I have a good friend of mine, Kathy. She lives in Yuba City, right south of Oroville. She's already been evacuated, and she's back in her house now. But the situation could be very devastating if and when that would happen. If it happened at nighttime, I think that we would have a major loss of life. But it's very fishy.
Are a lot of people going back into the area, Scott? Do you know?
Yeah, a lot of people did go back in, and I've been trying to keep up with the reports, and they've been rolling for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was actually able to catch some city council meetings that were streamed live from local news stations. A lot of people are very, very upset because a lot of people just do not understand what was going on before all of this happened. Okay, because this lake was almost dried up. I forget if it was either this year or last year that the lake was so dried up that archaeologists were going in there, digging around for artifacts, finding them because the level of the lake was so low. It was like a little desert. There was some water there, and it's a recreational area for boaters and people that like to water ski and swim, and it's a beautiful place. But these guys that run the dam, these are professionals. They know how to regulate the water level. They're very in tune with the runoff water that is coming from the eastern mountains. They have all of the technology to run this dam properly. And for some reason, I understand the saturating rains. Okay, fine. I understand there was a hole that opened up in one of the spillway runways going down to the river. Okay, fine. But allowing the river to exceed and breach its spillway wall is just absolutely uncalled for. I've spoken to a few people that have already formed conspiracy theories about, okay, this was a test run. They let this happen. They have all of the plans to allow it to happen again. And this is going to be their way, stage one, of clearing out most of California. Now, I've mentioned this before, and you could quote me on this. I mentioned it on your show a couple of times, and I warned all of the people in California that you will be the first people in this country that they are going to try to dispose of, the state of California. And 2 weeks ago, I got a message from a good friend of mine that lives in California that had a message for me. She was speaking to a gentleman who is in the major construction field, and he was ordered by his company to the Los Angeles, California area, east of LA, in a region over near the Apple Valley, for a major federal construction project to construct a FEMA earthquake evacuation camp, a massive one. And it was to be completed within the next 90 days. Okay, that's all the information that she got out of him. He said he couldn't talk about it any further, and that he would be gone because he lives in north central California, and that he would be gone for the next 3 months. So there you go. All of a sudden,
I can't believe, Scott, as long as it took everybody to get out of the area, that they would be willing to, especially knowing all the rain that's coming, they'd be willing to go back. I mean, I'm sure some people are saying, well, I have to, I work there, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, it's crazy. I really do think they're being set up.
I think they're being set up also. I think this is going to be California's kill shot. Because you have to understand.
You're kind of breaking up a little bit, Scott. Your voice is kind of like gargly. Is there any way you can adjust it?
Hold on one second. Let me see if I could. Is it a little bit better now?
Yeah, that sounds a little bit better.
Yeah, it might be. It just might be this. It just might be the whole connection through the whole, the talk show, the radio setup. Because I have a full signal all the way around. But let's just hope it stays good.
Okay. Well, we do have some callers. For those that are on the phone, if you wish to speak to Scott or ask him a question, please push *8 on your phone, and that will raise your hand. And that will let me know that you would like to speak with Scott. Scott, I've been looking at a lot of video where people are going up there and videoing this water, and I looked at one today where they had actually talked to some of the guys working on it, and even the guys working on this dam are saying, don't go, get out of Oroville.
Yeah, I mean, I did a video on it with one of the main engineers that was supposedly in charge of some of the construction up there. And he turned around and, said to the camera, something to the effect, well, we're only about 8% of the way done. And he said, I wouldn't go back to Oroville. He said, stay the hell out of Oroville is what he quoted in the video that I did. I wouldn't go back there either, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a very tough situation because that's where you live. But if this
have some people in the chat room that are saying that you sound perfect through the YouTube, so it has to be because we're running a double connection or something.
Well, I notice it usually happens through the talk show connection.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
it surprises me anymore.
Yeah, they're probably trying to censor a little bit there. I notice that they do this to a lot of channels on YouTube that do stream live. They mess around with Pastor Paul Begley quite a bit. Not too long ago, he was starting one of his live streams, and all of a sudden, hardcore slasher rock music started playing through the live stream to all of his viewers, and he couldn't shut it off.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me, too. I've had them come in, unmute themselves, and scream or talk obscenities or, And, these are professional trolls that are hacking in is what it is.
Yeah, I wish they'd find another job, these trolls. They think they get on my nerves, but, they really don't. The people in the comment section of any of my videos, they pretty well handle the trolls, and they're kind of the same ones. Sometimes they use different YouTube identities, and they come in and they spew the same crap, and they say the same things. But it doesn't, they're not doing anything to me. The following for the Nibiru channel and the information, my investigations, has been growing. Oh, it's been growing pretty good, to the tune of about 5,000 to 6,000 new subscribers every single month. I just got a notification from YouTube today that last week, in just 1 week, we put on 4,000 new subscribers in 1 week, and which is good, because the word needs to get out. Because right now, I've been talking a lot over the past month, letting everyone know, listen, when we get into the middle of February, from the middle of February to the middle of March, we're going to start going through some very serious times in a little bit of a slow pattern. And come March 16th, we're going to be entering into a very, very serious planetary alignment with Jupiter, Venus, the Earth, and the Sun. And that planetary alignment is going to last all the way through towards the end of April. And just that planetary alignment is going to be very, very hard on the Earth, creating a lot of stress, which is going to induce a lot of earthquakes and a lot of volcanic activity, and maybe some things that we don't even know about. And then, once we get into the month of May, this is kind of the predicted stage, the predicted model of when we're going to be getting very, very close to this brown dwarf that is slightly below our ecliptic and in the inner orbit between Jupiter and Saturn. And then this is about the stage when we are going to really start to interact with Nemesis, and this will last anywhere from 9 months to a year. So, I've tried to make people understand this isn't going to be an overnight experience. This takes quite a while for us to get through this.
Yep.
And once it starts, go ahead.
I spoke with Marshall Masters Sunday for about 3 hours, and I asked him, and he will be on. I'm going to be having Marshall on March 3rd, and he said the same thing. He said that around through March is really going to be an uptick, and he said that it's going to be a rocky ride this year. That we're going to have one heck of a time as far as weather changes and volcanoes and earthquakes. He said you're going to see a great uptick in it, and we already are seeing that.
Oh, absolutely.
For those that are listening through YouTube, if you want to speak with Scott, you have to call in to 1-724-444-7444, and then enter 43503 pound, and then 1 pound, and you will be in my board. Then you push *8 to raise your hand to me, and that will let me know that you would like to ask Scott a question or speak with him. I do have a few callers in the window right now. No one has raised their hand yet. I don't know. Maybe I'll just unmute somebody and see if they have a question. Welcome to the call, New York. Do you have a question?
Hello?
Hello, do you have a question or a comment for Scott?
Yes. I hope my dad is not actually listening, because, he's kind of stubborn sometimes. Yes, so I live in Low Island, and I just want to know if that particular place is going to be flooded as well.
Well, I would have to say any place that has the word island attached to it, just by just by thinking in generality, yeah, you're going to have some issues with flooding anywhere along any seaboard. I don't care if it's in the United States or in another country. When we do have sea levels rising, yes, Long Island will probably, completely disappear. It's not very far above sea level. But exactly when that will occur, I don't have those answers. I wish I did, because I would evacuate everybody at in an instant if I had those answers. But anybody that's living along coastlines, you wouldn't catch me living there. That's just the bottom line. When this will occur, it's really hard to say. I keep an eye on everything that's going on around the world right now, as much as I can. And right now, it's like about a 15 to 20 hour a day job. I'm really not getting that much sleep anymore. But you'll know when the time comes. You will definitely know. And whenever we get into the latter part of March, towards the end of March and the beginning of April, going into the month of April, you'll start to hear and see some things happening around the world, and you'll probably have some time to get out of there and travel west as far as possible.
So that means I have to relocate. Is that what you're saying?
Well, as far as using the word relocate, you can consider it to be a relocation. If Long Island goes underwater, there's not going to be anything to go back to. If you really research the history of Planet X and a crustal shift, which means, in history and theory, the Earth does tilt. It's predicted to tilt an additional 28 degrees. Whether or not it bounces back to its normal position of 23.5 to 25.5 degrees, well, there's no living human beings on the face of this Earth that can account for that. But going back into history and what has been theorized, that's what will happen. We may be living in a tropical paradise on the Northeast, or the Northeast can be up where the North Pole is. It's very hard to say what part of the Earth will actually connect with, Planet X or the brown dwarf, meaning the North Poles and the South Poles, causing a very severe tilt. But I believe you have plenty of time.
But the thing is, Scott, being in the New York area, I would caution on waiting till the last minute, because if everybody's trying to get out of that area at the same time, you're going to find the same problem they're having over there at the Oroville Dam.
Oh, absolutely.
Dam. You don't want to be stuck on the interstate or on a freeway or something where, there's a wave coming in, and then you're just going to be trapped.
Yeah, see, what a lot of people don't understand, and I don't mention a lot of this in my YouTube videos because, everybody runs around and they scream and yell that you're a fear monger and you're fear mongering for money and blah, blah, blah. Listen, I don't give a crap about the money situation, because money's not going to do you any good when this all goes down. Money will be absolutely 100% useless. You can probably use the cash that you have to kindle a fire. But when the time comes, the powers that be, they want the depopulation. Do you understand that, everyone? They want everyone in the coastal communities in this country to disappear. Why? Because it's less people that they have to deal with, the less supplies that they're going to have to put out as far as food, water, and shelter. And then when it comes to civil unrest, we're talking about numbers. 2 armies, us against them, and that's what it's going to be. Do you actually think that people are going to sit back and allow this to happen? No, you're going to have uprisings all over the United States and in other countries. So if you take a look at the amount of people that live on the east coast of the United States, what is it? Maybe 30, 40 million, 50 million? They want everybody, they want that 50 million gone, wiped out. 1, 2, 3, okay. Now we've decreased the population, 50 million people, that's a good start. Now let's work on California. Well, they're already working on California. They're already working on displacing 250,000 to 500,000, possibly even millions of people. And listen, folks, I'm going to tell you something right now. Okay, and I mentioned this the other day. This whole immigration thing that's going on around the United States, that they've just brought back up, and it's now in the media, and there's mass deportations, okay? They had this planned. And the reason why they're doing this, and this is just not against people from Mexico, this is against anyone that's in this country illegally, and they want to start with these people. Get rid of these people, not because they're here illegally, on a legal pretense. They just want to get rid of anyone they can to thin the herd. So they're going to use politics. They're going to use politics first to start these little psyops. Okay?
So the Hunger Games have begun, right, Scott?
Yes, and they're very, very subtle, and they're hidden. These are all hidden. They're not going to come out and say, okay, we're going to thin the herd to prepare for Planet X by creating the immigration diversion, and then we're going to blow up a dam in Northern California and wipe it all out so we can thin the herd over there, and blah, blah, blah. But I have a very good...
Another thing, too, is they're bringing the National Guard in, and when there's going to be a heavy presence of the National Guard in our country, people are just going to assume, oh, well, they're just here for, to get rid of the illegals. And think back, people, what happened in Hurricane Katrina.
Absolutely.
They were taking people's cars in and taking their weapons.
Well, I mean, I can tell you this much. We don't need the National Guard to take part in immigration raids. There are enough ICE members to take care of that. But the presence of this so-called National Guard and FEMA, what you have to really worry about is when you see FEMA coming in a very subtle way. And I just caught a report a few hours ago that FEMA is preparing for a disaster in California. So when you see them preparing for it, well, there's one of your signs. Listen, I've been doing this entirely way too long, and so have you. So we know the very subtle signs, the little sneaky signs that they're going to put forth to try to catch people off guard. And it's going to be very easy. Now, I was getting reports from people in the area that grocery stores were closed, pharmacies were closed, everything was closed. Okay, there was a run on gasoline. Then gasoline stations started gouging people, raising the price for gasoline. Okay, so in a matter of 48 hours, people were already running out of food. The medication issue started. We had elderly people displaced, disoriented, nowhere to go, but yet they cleared out the county jail. And they put all the prisoners in the Butte County county jail. Well, they bust them out of there. They made sure they were safe. But, I mean, the bottom line is, listen, folks, they're not going to give a lot of care to your safety. This is a preparation on their end. If you don't believe me, don't believe me.
One of the most important things, I think, Scott, that we can tell anybody right now is
I see now.
Keep your gas tank full now, people. Fill up your car now. And keep it. Once it gets down to a quarter of a tank, go back and top it off, because you want a full tank. You don't want to have to sit in a mile-long line and go through what Scott just said.
Yeah,
gas guys, they're not being able to find gas.
Yeah, when my friend was being evacuated from Yuba City, she has an elderly father who, he's ill. And, she was trying to help him along, and, she only had a little bit of gas, and she stopped off at a gas station. She waited there for quite a while, I think over an hour or so, maybe even longer, to get gas. And, she was only going to her brother's house in Roseville to, wait this thing out. And I think her whole entire travel was several hours from Yuba City to Roseville, which is not that far, but the highways were jammed. People were disoriented. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't understand the situation. And this is why I tell everyone, don't be scared, be prepared. The preparation for any state of emergency is the key. So, I took on a sponsorship for Food for Liberty. The only reason why I did it was to help out my subscribers and anyone that wants to prepare in this fashion. Because the bottom line is, canned goods, that's perfectly fine. But if you have a large plastic bin full of canned goods, full all the way to the top, and I'm talking about one of these big traveling bins, this thing could weigh 60, 70 pounds. How are you going to tote that around? It's going to take two people. So Food for Liberty, they have all of these great meals, all of these great products, bottled water, and these have a shelf life of 25 years. And they're enough to sustain you, if you want to buy a 30-day supply and put it away. It has a shelf life of 25 years. It does not need to be refrigerated. So in the case of that emergency, you're already set up. You got a few cases of water. you have your food preparation, and I'm going to say it, folks, I'm going to be straight up front with you. You better have some form of protection, some form of self-protection. You have to. Because when things get really bad and the lights go out and things are totally dark, cell phones don't work, there's no electricity, your car doesn't work, people are going to be out for blood. They're going to be out to rob and steal. People's houses in Oroville and Yuba City were being looted and robbed during the evacuation. So having a way to protect your family, and I mean protect. You know, I went out and I bought a small Coleman gas stove that you use for a camping trip. And I started off with 6 small propane tanks, and I bought 6 more. You know, just in case you want to cook something. I prepared 1 bin with cooking utensils, a pot, a pan, you know, some utensils, and I have all of that in a bin, a plastic bin. So, you know, if I have to buzz out of Dodge real quick, I'm going to load these things up and I'm going to get to my safe area. And my safe area is about 5 miles away.
You know, and it wouldn't be a bad idea, Scott, for people to just pack their trunk with a few items like a case of bottled water, you know, like a box of freeze-dried food, like, you know, like we were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you have that stuff there. Who knows? You might not have time to grab things and take it out. At least if you do have some things in your vehicle, you can just run out, jump in, and leave.
Listen,
but, it
is key. That is a key preparation.
Down to the wire now, Scott.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So
And
that means I have to relocate then?
I mean, that's your decision. But you know, like I said,
It already is my decision.
Yeah, there's time. There is time. But what you need to do is you need to have a valuable source of information. And as long as I can stay on the air, and as long as we have electricity and the internet, I will every single day produce some information for my subscribers and anyone that wants to listen. Because so many people out there, you know, they claim that I'm a fake, I'm this, I'm that, I'm telling lies, the information is fake. You know, ever since they coined the phrase fake news, that's all I see now, blah, blah, blah. Listen, you can say whatever you want. The proof is now here. I live in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. We have had no winter time. It has been 50, 60 degrees. It was 58 degrees today.
Yeah, we're going to 60 tomorrow in Michigan.
So are we, baby. So are we. I got people walking around here in freaking shorts. My grass is growing again. Trees are blooming. Farmers that live in the farming areas around here are already tilling their land. I saw it today.
So, New York, you need to get yourself a game plan.
Oh, and yeah, now the main problem is my dad is kind of stubborn. So what should I do to convince him to relocate?
Well, I mean, you know, you could try to fill him in on the information and what's happening. Listen, I'm going to be very honest with you. There are going to be a lot of people that are going to just stand up and give up. You're going to have millions of people around the world that are just going to give up on that day. And you're not going to be able to do anything to change their mind. And at that point in time, that's when you have to make a decision on whether you want to stay or do you want to make a big sacrifice and go.
Is it possible, New York, that you can get him to listen to some of the people that are very knowledgeable about this? Are you still with us, New York?
Yes, I'm still here.
You know, like on March 3rd, I'm going to have Marshall Masters on, and you can go into my window and go to my past recordings, go back 2 shows. I had David Mead on, and these are people who are very highly intelligent that have a lot of degrees and have done a lot of research, and you know, and they have valid explanations. I mean, if you can show him these valid explanations, maybe he would be more willing and open to what's going to go on.
All right. What should I go?
Well, if you go into my window on TalkShoe, just Google Bad Baby Fights for Freedom, and it'll pull up my window, and then click on the link and go over there. And when you scroll down in my window, all of my shows are down in the bottom. It says past episodes. And, there's a little blue dot there. Click on that blue dot, and it'll tell you what guests I have for that show. And then you just click on the red button, and the recording starts, and you can listen to the show.
Yeah,
2
David
shows
Mead.
ago, I had David Mead on, and then on March 3rd, I'm going to have Marshall Masters on. So, you might want to have him tune in. And
Yeah,
listen
David
to
Mead.
him.
David Mead's very knowledgeable. You can catch him on Gil Broussard's Planet X news. God, my mind just went blank. Internet website, or if you just Google the name David Mead, Meade. This man has a wealth of knowledge. There are prepper websites that give you just general knowledge on preparation. And like I was saying the other day, the majority of kids, maybe 6 out of 10, they don't know anything about the outdoors, fishing, any of these things. They know about Facebook, Twitter, and video games.
What is the website called?
What is what called?
I want you to look up David Mead.
Yeah, just Google David Mead.
David,
Meade.
M-E-A-M-E, right?
No,
Mead.
Mead, Meade.
M-E-A-M-E-A.
DE.
All right.
Do some homework.
Right.
Just do some homework. That's the best advice.
Go into my archives and scroll through my past episodes. I've had David on. I've had Gil Broussard on. I've had Robert Evans on. I've had John Moore on. I've had all the Nubaru experts on. And tune in on the 3rd. I'm going to have Marshall Masters on the 3rd. And Scott is going to be here every 3rd Friday of the month. We're going to make this a regular thing where he comes in, and so if you people have questions for him, you can just call into my show at 1-724-444-7444. Enter the code 43503#, and then £1, and you will be on the phone. You will be muted, but then push *8, and that'll raise your hand, and then you can just ask that like you did tonight. Any questions? Where can I go? Am I in a bad location? Or, that's what we're here for. We decided to do this every 3rd Friday of the month, didn't we, Scott?
Yes, we did. You could always go to one of my YouTube videos on my channel. My email address is in the description box of every video. You could always drop me an email. It may take me a few days to get back to you because I get about 1,000 emails a day. It's very hard getting through all of them. But, just drop me an email. I'll answer your questions and, just hope for the best. But again, having some faith and having some knowledge about what's happening, some of this knowledge could save your life. And I keep reiterating that to people also. The more you know, the better off you're going to be. So we can't allow society to just dumb us down like we're going to be zombies walking around. The more knowledge you have, the better off you're going to be. Any bit of this knowledge, you may catch something in one video that may save your life, save your family's life. That's my whole intention. We have to hope. Go ahead.
When should we call again?
We'll be on next month, the 3rd Friday of the month.
It will be
Next
advertised.
Friday.
It will be advertised on my YouTube channel.
All right.
Yeah. We put it up. We post it out there in all the Nubaru, on Facebook, all the Nubaru groups. We post it, and Scott also puts it up on his channel that he'll be on the air. But usually it's every 3rd Friday for him to be out here on TalkShoe with me.
All right.
Maybe, next month you want to call in, and if your dad has any questions, he can talk to Scott.
All right. Yeah.
Just do some research, buddy. That's the best information I can give you. Start doing some information searches. Check out my videos and some of the other, reputable YouTube channels that do legitimate research on Planet X and Nibiru. Watch their videos, subscribe to their channels, set your notifications, and watch the video information. You know, some of the videos are 5 minutes. You know, sometimes they're a little bit longer, but you know, every bit of the information is it's things that you need to see and hear. And again, as I've always said, knowledge is power. And once you empower yourself with that knowledge, then in the state of an emergency, this is just part of your training. Like you'd be trained for a job, just like you were trained from the day you were born. They train you in school. They teach you. This is the same process. So start doing a little bit of homework with a computer, cell phone. You know, start looking some things up. Pay attention to these YouTube channels, and you'll gain some knowledge on the subject very quickly.
All right.
All righty?
Okay, New York, thank you for calling, and good luck to you. Keep yourself informed.
All right.
You know, Scott, it's sad when the younger generation is more open-minded, and then they have a parent that they live with, and they're like, well, I don't believe this. It's all conspiracy crap. But they have not followed what's going on or paid attention to what's going on around the world as far as the weather. I post this constantly. I'm sure you see the postings I put.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Shows all the whales that are dying. And did you see where all the bats died in Africa?
Listen, the animal die-offs, I've been meaning to do a video on these animal die-offs, but since the beginning of 2017, they are off the chart.
Off the chart.
And I mean
Right.
tens of thousands of all different species, from fish to mammals, birds, you know, insects. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what's happening. And once again, mainstream media is not covering a lot of this. Sometimes they're forced to cover it when, you know, 300 whales wash up on a California shore. They're kind of forced to cover that information. But, you know, just the other day, Mike from Around the World did a video piece on two ladies that were traveling along a roadway out in the Midwest and saw 50 owls dead along a stretch of highway. And that was very abnormal. Very abnormal.
Yeah, David and I talked about that when I interviewed him, and he asked me, he said, why do you think that a lot of the animals are dying? And I said, well, my theory on it is you see these great big sinkholes and these cracks in the earth, and I think the methane gas is coming out into our atmosphere, and it's poisoning the animals. And he said, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know, when they go in the coal mines and they thought that they had methane gas leaks, they used to put a canary in the coal mine.
Yep.
If the canary died, then that meant there was methane. So, I mean, it's just obvious that our Earth's crust is breaking apart, cracking apart, and all this methane gas is coming out, and this is what's killing all these animals.
But you know what the sad part is? There'll be some idiot out there that just wants to debunk that theory. They just want to debunk this theory and tell everybody a lie. But are you the one that are performing, what do they call that, a necropsy, when they do an autopsy on an animal? So are you running the lab tests? No. Are you cutting this animal open? No. So what the hell are you debunking? You know, these debunkers are the biggest liars on YouTube, Facebook, the internet. You know, some of them, you know, do have some credence, but the majority of them are nothing but sick-minded individuals that want to spread misinformation. They want to try and change your mind and change your thought process. And if you're that weak-minded, then you deserve to be in their camp, because they're not going to do anything to help you or protect you. They're there to influence you in the wrong way. So if you want to follow them, go ahead.
I just posted on Facebook the other day, it was either in Australia or in the UK, I can't remember which place, where 600 whales beached themselves. Did you see that posting?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and these whales are beaching themselves, and also are the dolphins, because they navigate by the the North and South Pole.
Yeah, the
And because
electromagnetics.
our planet has shifted, they are off in their navigation. People can't understand why they're taking these whales back out into the ocean to try to save them, and they're turning around and coming right back into the beach.
Yeah.
Because they think they're going in the right direction.
Listen, even if you don't pay attention right now to the animal die-offs that have been occurring for the last several years, ladies and gentlemen, if you just pay attention to the weather patterns that are going nuts around the world, that is the first clue to what is happening. This has absolutely nothing to do with global warming, and this has absolutely nothing to do with scientific climate change. Our Earth is in a very severe wobble, and it is my theory, as well as many others. I just had a conversation with Mr. Sam Hoffman 2 weeks ago, and we discussed this matter about this severe Earth wobble. Now, I'm not talking about the wobble that takes an entire year to occur. And the Earth has a weird wobble that it takes a year for that wobble to be completed. I'm talking about the magnetic pull on our planet. The jet stream over the last few months has gradually gone completely chaotic. And I've shown the jet stream to many of my subscribers in my videos. The jet stream is absolutely out of control. And that is causing all of the weird weather in the northern hemisphere, and the jet stream in the South Pole, in the southern hemisphere, is just as erratic. And it's going to continue.
We've got a few comments in the chat room that I want to address. We have a man in the chat room named Danny Garcia. He says, kudos to you, Scott, and he's collecting more first-hand footage, and he will continue to send it his way. And he says, great work on your research. We also have a question. Someone is asking, why is, let's see, I'll go back. Why is Venus so bright tonight?
Well, you know, Venus has been bright like this for the last several months. And in all actuality, we should only be seeing a very small crested Venus. And there have been some people out there that, you may know who I'm talking about. I don't even want to mention his name. He tried to infiltrate our radio channel that last time. But they're all putting out their debunking videos about why Venus is so bright. Listen, the bottom line is where Venus is located right now in the solar system, from our view, we should only be seeing a crested portion of Venus. But yet, I can walk outside at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I can already see Venus in the sky like an illuminated halogen headlight. Now, as far as the exact answer, the scientific answer, why Venus is so bright, I think it's being lit up by either Planet X, either Nibiru or the brown dwarf. And I would have to probably move closer to, possibly the planet Nibiru, which would be the planet crossing Earth's path. But again, it's a little bit of a mystery. I really haven't uncovered anything other than that's one of the possibilities, that it's being lit up, like a firecracker.
He wants to know, Scott, he says, how would one talk to his family in helping remove the fear and take away the fear and wake them up?
Well, it's very hard to remove fear in a human being because this is a very fearful situation. And literally sitting everyone down and going over the biblical information pertaining to, the Planet X theories, people survived. How do we know? Well, human beings survived, and here we are today in 2017. Yeah. Jesus continued and went through his life and walked this earth for 33 years? People survived. And, and I've never said that this will be the end of mankind. However, because mankind is entirely more modernized than it was before the last crossing, we have a lot of things on this earth now that they didn't have back then. The modernization is going to be a bit of a problem. You know, all of these nuclear power plants, we rely on electricity. We rely on electronics. We do not know how to live off of the grid. So, you know, that's a problem. But sitting everyone down in your family and discussing a plan for a preparation for any emergency is the way I would begin. And I mentioned that a couple of days ago in one of my videos. Sitting your family down and saying, listen, wife, child, we're gonna have a family emergency plan. And you need to teach your kids, some things, you know, some little immediate first aid, cooking, taking them out into the wilderness. Just general preparation with your family is a start. You don't have to go into the whole entire Planet X cataclysm, death and destruction, doomsday, but sitting your family down and discussing a plan for an emergency of any kind. Listen, don't you think that all the people that live in Tornado Alley out in the Midwest, don't you think each and every one of those families and the schools, they teach their kids about how to protect themselves during a hurricane? When I lived in Miami for 22 years. They teach this in the school systems, and families, they know preparation for hurricanes. Tornadoes, different story because they come out of nowhere. So the same process is right here. Sit your family down.
You know, another thing that is a lot of people that live with their mom and dad that are elderly, they're like, oh, I don't want to believe this. Don't overwhelm them with, you know, oh, this, and this. Just gradually show them what's going on. And one of the things you can do is just Google animal die-off list and pull that list up and show them. Say, look at what's, and also go into Scott's videos where he shows the cracks in the planet and show them that this is happening to the planet, and, you know, we got to have some kind of a game plan here.
Absolutely. Preparation is the key. You know, and I keep mentioning, if you take medications that your life depends on, you need to go to your doctor, and you need to tell your doctor, hey, listen, you know, I'm going to be going on a 3-month trip out of the country, or whatever. You know, can you write me a prescription so I can take my medication with me? Because if your life depends on this medication, well, you're going to need as much of it as you possibly can, because pharmacies aren't going to be open. Your debit card and credit cards aren't going to work. Your health insurance, well, it'll basically be completely invalid. There's not going to be doctors and hospitals around to help you because there won't be any electricity. So, again,
research your medication under holistic healing, too, because, for instance, I'll give you a for instance. People that are on high blood pressure medicine, if you can't stock up on it, if your doctor won't let you stock up on it, if you take olive leaf extract, that will regulate your blood pressure. So you can buy tons of olive leaf extract off of any vitamin site, but that would be something that, you know, you would have to stock up and keep on hand, because if you don't have your blood pressure medicine, at least you will have that to regulate your blood pressure.
Absolutely. There's no doubt.
We
no.
We got another call here. Southern California, do you have a comment or a question for Scott?
I don't think they hear us.
I don't think so. Arizona, do you have a comment or a question for Scott tonight? Okay. And we have one. California, do you have a comment or a question for Scott tonight? Okay. I'm muting you back. Okay, Scott, for those that are listening to us through YouTube, if you want to call in and talk to Scott, call 1-724-444-7444 and enter 43503 pound and then 1 pound, and you will be on the phone. When you get on the phone, push *8 to raise your hand, and I will unmute you, and you can talk to Scott live. Well, Scott, you're right. The worst thing to do is to be afraid.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quite honest with you and everyone else. There are days that, I wake up and I watch the sunrise, and the sunrises have become very weird, and the sunsets. But there are days that I think to myself, wow, we're getting in closer and closer to this time frame, and a chill goes up the back of my neck, and I start to think, and I block the fear factor, because I've been at this long enough to understand that there's not a damn thing that anybody can do to stop what is going to occur. And it's been occurring in our solar system for millions of years. This is not something that is new to our planet or our solar system. And Gil Broussard and Marshall Masters and Robert Evans and David Mead, they'll all agree with me. This has been happening for a million years or more. Sometimes the Earth gets through it unscathed. Sometimes it doesn't. It all depends on the timing when this system comes in and when this system leaves. There are so many unknown factors. And there was a NASA scientist that came out with a statement on a NASA website. And once again, Mike from Around the World just uncovered this today. And I think it was a few months ago, they were talking about the SDO satellite positions on a NASA website. The scientist made a statement within the article stating that this position behind the sun is where Planet X is, and that's why nobody can see it. And then he mentioned something about 150 years. So I'm actually going to pull up the information and the video from Mike from Around the World, and I'm going to jump onto that website because he left a link for it, and I'm going to investigate it. But that is a NASA website that mentioned Planet X being behind the sun and something about a 150-year cycle. So I think
It's interesting that I have a CEO from NASA that's following me now all of a sudden.
maybe he wants to take you out on a date.
You broke up, honey, and we didn't hear that.
I said maybe he wants to take you out on a date.
Oh, is he going to show me around NASA?
He might end up showing you his rocket.
I think they're concerned with what we're talking about.
There's no doubt about it. Listen, a few months back, Pastor Paul Begley was visited by the NSA twice, I think. And he told Pastor Paul in a face-to-face conversation that they have a group that monitors all of the YouTube channels and Facebook pages that are dedicated to Planet X research. They listen to us. Every word we say. And the reason why that all of these channels aren't shut down, it's because we are adding to their research and their information. Think about it. You've got all of these YouTube channels, all of these Facebook pages, all of these websites dedicated to legitimate Planet X research. So, like I said, you're not just going to point a telescope up into the sky and find Planet X. You're just not going to do it. Number one, the brown dwarf is probably very illuminated right now because of the distance close to the sun, but it's below the ecliptic, which means, number one, the Earth is not in position to see it. And even if the Earth was, you would have to be in the Antarctic, and you'd have to be using a pretty high-powered telescope that would be able to see in the infrared spectrum. Are we seeing other planets associated with this system? I think we are. And you have to remember something. The people have a misconception of what's occurring. So I'm going to try to explain it to you, without using any visuals. Just think of a flat plate. Put that flat plate and put an orange representing the sun in the middle of that plate. Now take another plate and turn it vertically, up and down. That is the way that this system is situated within our solar system, vertically. So that's why these planets are moving up and down, not round and round. That's why we don't see them all the time. That's why we see them periodically. And, people say, oh, well, why can't I see it? If I don't see it, I don't believe it. Well, you know what, buddy? Don't believe it. Because our Earth, everything in the solar system is in continuous motion. Everybody on this planet is not going to see the same damn thing that I see. People that are in the Antarctic, they're going to see things that I can't see in the Northeast. Does that make sense to anyone?
Exactly. Yeah, you have a question in the chat. Someone wants to know, do they have the location and orbital path predicted from any of the data that they have compiled?
I believe they do. I believe that they are tracking. Well, let's just put it this way. The answer to that, I believe, is yes. I mean, we're dealing with, NASA scientists and Earth space agencies all over the globe, and they're all intertied together. And they've been collaborating on this for many, many years. They know, I would have to say, exact positioning and timing, calculations. But they're not going to release this information just yet. Because if they did, there would be worldwide panic. I mean, just look when they try to evacuate Oroville and Yuba City, California. People panicked. There was some disorganization. I think it was a dry run to see what would happen. And they're going to do it again. I would say within a week. You're going to see it.
They don't try to stop you or me or anybody else that's trying to get this information out from doing it, because my harassment has uptaked. And I had a woman smash into me in the grocery store with her cart. She hit me in the back, and when I turned around, she made a real crazy face at me and said, "It ain't going to get any better, you know."
I would have hit her right in the head with a can of peas. Well, I mean...
It was funny because the cash register lady looked at me and looked at her, and she went, "What was..." And then she got out of line. See, I was in line, and she did that to me. And then she backed out of line and took off. And the lady was bringing my stuff up, and she said, "What was that all about?" I said, "I don't know. I think she took too many loony pills." I mean, what are you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, my philosophy is with the trolling and the name calling and trying to discredit you, all they're doing is that's their campaign to try to discourage you, the investigator, the researcher. They just want to run you off their land. So, me and a few others, we've talked about this several times. If they were to just randomly shut down all YouTube channels, all Facebook pages, and all internet sites that have anything to do with Planet X research, if they just shut it out and blacked it all out, all at once, then everybody who paid attention to those websites and subscribed to those YouTube channels, and if all of a sudden they looked to YouTube for Planet X information and it was wiped out completely, what would you think? Wow, they're trying to silence the information. So they're not going to do that. They're going to try to cast doubt in your mind. They're going to try and discredit you, but they're not going to shut us down, because I'm telling you the truth. They need our information. Just think about it. The more information, and that's what they are. They're intelligence organizations. They gather intelligence, them sneaky people. The more intelligence that they gather, the more photographs and videos that people are capturing all over the world that scientists sitting behind a NASA desk looking through a massive telescope can't find. And even Gil Broussard has stated that you'll find amateur astronomers in time will be the first ones that will come out and discover and put it out there in the public. Now, I think that we are seeing other planetary bodies in the skies. We have been for the entire year of 2016 and going into 2017. Now, I will have to admit, so far, in the beginning of this year, the sightings of other planets that, shouldn't be in our solar system, they're kind of at a minimum right now. And I think that it's because of the position of the Earth and the position of this system in our solar system. We're moving around the sun, and in actuality, this system's actually moving away from us, but we're moving around the sun, and we're actually catching up to it. And that's why...
When I spoke to Marshall Masters Sunday, I was on the phone with him for 3 hours, and he said that one of the things that he thinks is going to happen probably sometime this year is the electrical grid is going to go down around the world.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's so vital that everybody educates themselves now and gets ready now, because when that electrical grid goes down, people, your money is worthless. You won't go to the bank and get money. You won't be able to go to the grocery store and make transactions with a credit card. So this is why it's vital that you do your preparing now.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. When the electrical grid goes down, people are going to freaking panic. That's a fact. And,
And the thing is, another thing, Scott, we won't be out there anymore. We won't be able to take your calls. We won't be able to talk to you. We won't be able to we won't be able to put our videos up or give you any information. Once that happens, you're on your own, people.
Hey, I'm getting reports right now out of California. I am looking at massive roadway flooding. The headline states on KTLA Channel 5 in LA, heavy rain and flooding has shut down the I-5 freeway in Sun Valley. Highway 110 freeway in South Los Angeles is flooded and shut down. There you go. How about that for a news flash? Well, they're in the second day of it, but what they're calling the Pineapple Express, they've nicknamed it, I think several years ago, but the so-called El Nino. But what's occurring is this is being drawn in by the sinking of the jet stream, and the jet stream is blasting directly into Central California and stretching all the way across the middle of the United States and then curving back up and creating this very warm air vortex of hot air moving up into the North Pole. So this is creating...
I have a question in the chat room.
Sure.
Someone wants to know if you think that Donald Trump is going to tell us and that they heard that the Pope told him to shut up.
Well, I'm not a big fan of the Pope. I'm just going to come right out there and say this. I better watch it. They'll probably try to whack me. But I don't know. Politics is a very, very touchy subject because, in my belief, the person who has the title of President of the United States for many, many years has just been pretty much a puppet. And I agree with the underlying regime of whoever runs the world. I don't think any one man runs a country. They're like actors. So I'm not too sure if we're going to be given a legitimate warning. Like Gil Broussard said, if they're going to warn you, they're going to give you about 40 or 45 days, maybe 30 days warning, if that. Or they just don't warn you at all. And as far as the Pope goes, well, hey, I don't know, man. I've seen some pretty weird pictures of that guy. Not looking too human. Not a big fan of his, but, swinging religion into this, as long as you have faith, believe in your God, believe in your own faith. Like I said, don't be scared, be prepared. And that's the best advice that I can give you. Keep your knowledge flowing, because any given video or information that you look at or read or watch may be something that you'll utilize in this situation. And we are getting very close. I was discussing it today with a friend of mine. I kept mentioning to everybody in my YouTube videos that, listen, when we reach the middle of February, that's going to be the beginning stage of what we're going to start passing through. And here we are. We're 30 days away from this planetary alignment with Jupiter, Venus, the Earth, and the Sun. We're 30 days away. March 16th. The planetary alignment will be completed and going through about April 24th. Now, that is going to shake the Earth up big time. Right now, believe it or not, we are actually in a lull with earthquake activity. In a very short amount of time, you're going to see this earthquake activity increase beyond your imagination. Volcanoes around the world are erupting, not on watch, not warnings, erupting all over the world. I showed it in my videos. I tried to keep all of my subscribers informed on these subjects. We're not always going to produce all of these fantastic pictures and videos that you guys want to see. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring to you the real information, the changes on this earth that are not normal. And right now, the earthquake activity, the damage to the sun, I did a video on it today about how the sun seems to be losing energy and going dark. And I did a comparison on the SDO footage from October until today, clearly showing that the sun is not as illuminated as it was back in October. All of these coronal holes opening up every single week. We are under the threat of these high solar winds, radiation, this cosmic energy blasting our planet. They are issuing warnings of radiation levels for people flying in passenger jets, because the radiation levels are higher in that part of the atmosphere. They're not even sure how much radiation the pilots and the crew are being blasted with, but yet they're coming out with little subtle statements. And it's going to be subtle. Everything is going to be subtle when it comes either from the government or mainstream media. And right now, alternative media is running this show. That's a fact.
One of the things I wanted to mention tonight, on the Jim Baker show, they're having a marathon right now, and they're really discounting a lot of the emergency stuff that they sell. And they have a generator that it weighs 6 pounds. It's green. It has a little handle on it. It has its own solar screen, and they're selling that. I think it's like $300, and that you can just pick that up and put it in the trunk of your car and take it with you. They also have a solar generator. I don't know if they still carry it, but it's a backpack generator where it has a solar panel that unfolds, and you can hook it to your backpack and charge it up while you're walking.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I mean, we might not see too much of the sun, during these trying times, because once these volcanoes start to pop, they're going to spew so much debris into the atmosphere. That is what they are referring to. A lot of people are referring to this mini ice age. Yes, a mini ice age can occur if all of these volcanoes go off, spew all of that debris into the atmosphere, cloud the entire planet, with the fact of the matter that the sun seems to be dimming somewhat. Now, even though it feels very strong on your skin when you go outside, even if it's 50 degrees, because I was outside today, I had my arm resting out of the window as I was driving, and for the few minutes that I sat at a red light in traffic, it was burning my elbow, just hanging out of the car window.
Pictures online, Scott, where people, they're going on vacation, and they're actually, when they go to the beach, they're blistering.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the gentleman that runs the Higher Truth channel, he's been doing a lot of work on this. So has Mike from around the world. Mike's been getting UV ratings that are off the chart. 11, 12, 13. But yet, the UV ratings given by like NOAA and on the websites, weather websites, they're half the amount. So they're lying. The UV has been up, ultraviolet has been up for months, and it's getting worse. Mike showed how it's bleaching stop signs completely white in Arizona.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He did a whole piece on it. on his YouTube channel. So the fact of the matter is,
it's going to come down to a point where they aren't going to be able to hide this anymore.
absolutely, it's getting to that point right now. Slowly but surely, it's getting to that point. And and more and more people are going to, start opening up their eyes a little bit. And even though my channel is growing at a very, very fast rate as far as subscribers, I think YouTube still censors me in many, many ways because I'm reaching almost 50,000 subscribers. So why do I not have 50,000 plus views on every single one of my videos? And the same applies for every YouTube researcher that deals with Planet X. It's like our views are being cut in half or a third. They're doing something to censor the algorithm so, people aren't getting the information. I've had people email me and say, wow, I thought you shut your channel down. I haven't gotten a notification from you for 3 months. I was unsubscribed from your channel involuntarily. Who did that?
Yeah. I get emails all the time, and people say, Bad Baby, when are you coming back on the air? They say when they try to log in or when they try to go to my window, it says I'm not there anymore. So, they're censoring us, but, I've told people be persistent. Continue to try again, and eventually you'll get through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tell people, listen, just put it in the course of your day-to-day. You have access to a cell phone. People have computers at home. When you get some free time, sit down, bookmark my YouTube channel, click on the bookmark, go to my channel's homepage, and check and see if there is a new video. Now, there are some days I upload 1, 2, or 3. There are days that I upload 8 or 10 if there's a lot going on. But at least I'm there every single day putting out some information that is vital to everyone. And you should listen to it. It doesn't take that long.
There's another thing, too, Scott, that I wanted to tell everybody tonight. There's a radio that they're selling on the Jim Baker Show, and it has a solar panel on it. It has a hand crank on it where you can charge it up by cranking it, or you can use batteries in it. So there's 3 ways to power this radio, and it is shortwave. So Jim Baker has talked about if the grid goes down or there's no way to communicate, they will stay on the air through shortwave to keep people informed on what's going on throughout the country. And I think the radio is like $65. And, ham radios, you'll be able to pick up ham radios through this and shortwave. So when there's all havoc breaking loose, it would be wise to have one of these radios to keep yourself informed on what's going on.
Yeah, I may pick one of those up myself, to tell you the truth. I just might do that, add that to my little collection of things that, that I have set for preparation. Most definitely.
I'll send you the link for it. Scott.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Are we talking about the same Jim Baker, the evangelist?
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, I've been following him for about 2 years now, and they sell survival food and all kinds of stuff, solar panels, all kinds of solar stuff, because he had one night he had gotten, I think he said 20 or 30 visions of what was going to happen, and he goes over them occasionally on his show. And the Lord told him to get the people prepared, and he is trying to get the churches to stock food and be prepared. And where he is now, they're actually building it like a compound where they're fencing it off, and they're selling homes and condos and that to people to come in and stay. And and they even put a guard shack up that's all bulletproof.
Oh my!
And he's going to have his own police force.
Well, I've been. It's funny that you mentioned the churches. I've been asked to speak to a church community of 1,000 people next Sunday, and they've been, the pastor's been following this information for quite some time biblically, and he ran across my YouTube channel 3 months ago, and sent me a couple of emails and asked me if I would please attend this meeting, and they have a massive church that they built. It's kind of like, you know, the real big evangelist complexes, but like Joel Osteen. But they have a little over 1,000 members, and every single one of their members, they've discussed this, and they want me to come and give a 2-hour talk on, you know, what's occurring and what would be some of the ways of, you know, them preparing. We're going to touch on a lot of subjects, and I'm going to be putting this material together. And, you know, next Sunday, 5 o'clock, you know, I'll be out there. And
one of the things that Jim Baker's been doing is he's been trying to get the churches to pay attention and to stock food, because people are going to go to the church for help. And he has been contacted by a lot of the churches, and he is also giving them discounts. To, you know, and he is keeping it confidential which churches are participating in it, because they don't want to advertise and then be overwhelmed with people, you know, trampling the church down. You know.
yeah, then there'll be people that will just take advantage of that situation also.
Yeah. Well, he, you know, and he had mentioned one day on the air, he said, I actually had 12 churches contact me this week, and they asked me if I would keep it a secret.
Yeah, we're going to be getting down to, like I said, we're going to be getting down to some trying times, and there's going to be a lot of things in the very, very near future that are going to test your faith, test your strength, test your knowledge, and just test you as a human being. It's going to be a very big challenge. You know, and I hate to sound grim, but some of us will make it, some of us may not. But each and every day, you know, each and every day that I wake up, the first thing that I think about, the minute I open my eyes and take a breath, I'm thinking about what information I'm going to get out to these people today, and what has happened while I'm resting my eyes. While I'm resting my brain and trying to sleep, there's something happening on this globe. And every day, every single day, there are probably things occurring that I don't even know about. But because I have fantastic subscribers all around the world, you know, they keep me informed of what's happening. You know, and I get a few of these smartasses in the comment section of my YouTube channel that tell me, oh, you're a Planet X channel. Why are you reporting on what's happening in Oroville? Well, I'm going to give you the answer to that. Number one, it's my channel. Number two, it's my prerogative and my choice. And number three, these things are directly related to people's safety. So why do you ask me such a dumb question? And it's not one of my normal subscribers. It's one of my troll subscribers.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you tonight, Scott, I hear that there's a lot of uptick going on in Yellowstone. What's going on with Yellowstone right now?
Well, there's been a lot of uptick going on there for quite a while. That's kind of been, you know, they're trying to keep it hush-hush. Not too long ago, there was about 121 earthquakes, small little tremor earthquakes that occurred. They didn't publicize a lot of it on the USGS, but one YouTube channel did catch the information, did publicize it. When I went to look at the information, it was gone. So Yellowstone is always going to be a key factor in watching it. We have to monitor it. Now, I just did a report this morning on a volcano, Volcano Lanín in Argentina. Their seismology office issued a warning on the 15th and 16th of February that in 45 minutes they had 60 earthquakes right near that volcano. It is a massive volcano with a massively high elevation, and the last time it blew was 1,500 years ago. So again, there are in Iceland right now, I've got a gentleman who's a subscriber who sends me emails every day. And he lives in Iceland. He was wondering, why in the hell aren't they talking about what's happening in Iceland? Because the last time Volcano Katla erupted, you couldn't fly a plane from the East Coast to Europe because of the cloud of debris that was in the air. But yet they're undergoing all of these earthquakes and the volcanic activity, but they weren't reporting it on the USGS. And they weren't reporting it on the European agency. I sent both of them emails, and I said, hey, what the hell? I sent them in the email some of the information that was sent to me by my subscriber in Iceland, and I said, listen, you're not reporting this. You are a seismic agency. You have a website that tens of millions of people look at, but you're not publicizing the information. Why is that? I got no response. However, 24 hours later, all of them damn earthquakes showed up on both of the feeds. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, we have a guest in the chat that said BP Earthwatch posted a YouTube video about Yellowstone, and there's a massive carbon bed underneath most of the Northwest. So go check it out.
Excuse me. Yes, I've looked at that information. That information is brand new. Scientists just discovered that massive deposit of carbon, and I mean, I really don't know what to think about it right now. If any of that was released into the atmosphere, that would be immediate death to every living creature.
About a year ago, there was a man that was walking his dogs along a river there by Yellowstone, and his dogs jumped in the river, and they started boiling to death. And so he jumped in after them to try to rescue them, and he also died. He boiled to death. The water was so hot.
Yeah.
And they kept it all quiet.
Yeah, and that big, massive carbon deposit, that's just not under Yellowstone. That stretches over a huge portion of the western part of the United States, going all the way into Arizona, and part of the going east and west. It's huge, massive, and scientists just discovered it. They just discovered it just a few days ago. So, I mean, I haven't really gotten into it, but I'm actually afraid to read further into it, because from the information that I did read, and I did watch the report from Mike from Around the World mentioned it, and BP Earthwatch did mention it, and you know, I don't even know what to think about that.
I don't know if you've been keeping up with what's going on over there in Fukushima, but from what I've been reading, that power plant is actually getting ready to fall into the ocean.
Yeah, they're out of control.
I found that interesting, that when I found that out, because when I interviewed Ann Eller, she said that one of the first signs that we were going to see right before the pole shift was that Japan was going to sink into the ocean.
That's possible. They're an island, and they sit right on a ridge. If you look at the geographical location on Google Earth, which gives you kind of a three-dimensional look at Japan, they're basically an island that has risen out of the ocean. They sit right on a very, very high ridge protruding up out of the ocean. And if that ridge slips, well, guess what? They disappear. And that's going to be the same for, you know, any island country in the South Pacific. I mean, you may have high mountain ranges in the center of these islands that maybe will stay above water, but you know, there's some very serious situations in the South Pacific, Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. There's earthquakes popping off there minute by minute in the magnitudes high 4s and 5s. I mean, I have an app on my phone that is set up to give me notifications on volcanoes and earthquake activity around the world. And as of lately, it's been ringing off the hook. And it's all been, you know, these earthquakes in the Indonesia area, the South Pacific. And a lot of people are not talking about New Zealand as far as earthquake activity goes. And they've been under their own siege of these earthquakes in New Zealand.
What about Hawaii? Are you seeing an uptake in the earthquakes in the Hawaii area?
There's been some earthquake activity around the Hawaiian Islands. It's hard to say if they're actually tectonic earthquakes or pressure releases from the volcanoes, because they still have that massive flow of lava pouring out of the side of that cliff into the water. And I did a video about it 2 weeks ago. and it's still pouring into the ocean. A big, huge fire hose stream of burnt red liquid lava just pouring directly into the ocean, and the whole entire cliffside fell into the ocean, just broke right off. They caught it on video. I put it up on my YouTube channel, Kilauea, but it's still going. Now, that's kind of good because that's a release of pressure. And believe it or not, some of these, when these volcanoes are going off, this is a good thing in a sense because it's relieving the pressure and preventing some of these catastrophic earthquakes. Because if these volcanoes were not releasing this pressure, these earthquakes that would be around a magnitude 4 or 5 would probably be up in the levels of 8 or 9, 7, 8, 9. That's a fact.
Yeah. Well, and you know, and the thing is, there's 4 of them that are getting ready to erupt right now. Isn't there?
Yes, there are. Well, there's way more than that. I mean, I keep watch on them, and if you go to the YouTube channel Discovery Volcano, they cover earthquakes and volcanoes, and very, very good, sophisticated channel. They have their own app that you could download on your phone, and that's what I use. But
You have to send me that link. I had some really good links for that stuff, and my computer was hacked, and all that stuff was taken from me. And now I can't find hardly anything. It's like I'm being blocked from finding anything.
yeah, if you go to your app store in your cell phone and just type in Discovery Volcano, it will come right up. It's a free app. They have a upgrade. I did pay the $2.99 for the upgrade, and like I said, it keeps me informed on volcanic activity and earthquake activity around the world. Very, very accurate. Very, very on time. I mean, when that earthquake happens, I get the notification within 2 minutes. So it's a very, very good app, Discovery Volcano. I go over it all the time on my YouTube channel, and I think it's a very good app for people to have on their phones. If you have a family and you're working and your kids are in school and maybe your wife's at work and blah, 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 this works off of the GPS in your cell phone. So you can set it to notify you of earthquakes or volcanoes that have gone off in your area according to your GPS location where that cell phone is. So if you get that 2-minute warning and you know your kids are in school and you know your wife or your husband's at work, now's the time to get in touch with them. It is a very useful tool. If you live in these areas where you have a lot of seismic activity and volcanic activity, I would definitely have that means to keep in touch with that information to inform your family and therefore keep in touch with your family. And that goes directly in line with sitting your family down and coordinating an emergency plan for anything. This will work for you and your family.
You know, another thing, Scott, that they're selling on the Jim Baker show, and I think this is something that everyone should get because since we did mention Fukushima, and, you know, we do know that when this happens, the nuclear power plants in our country are going to melt down just like Fukushima, and we are going to have radiation contamination in our water supply. Well, they are selling a water bottle to the Chalet Water Company that actually takes radiation out of the water.
Well, I'll have to check into that because that sounds pretty, you know, if you live next to any of these power plants.
It takes out heavy metals, it takes out fluoride, and it also takes he just invented the radiation one. And so there are several different bottles that they sell. They also sell a pitcher, and they also sell a pump where you put the hose in a, you know, he said you can actually put it in a mud puddle and then start pumping the pump through, and, you know, that they sell a barrel with it. And the thing is, the filters are only good for so many gallons, but they also sell 12 packs of filters that you can buy extra filters. And they also sell a canteen set that is called the Survival Canteen, and that one takes the radiation out also. And in that pack,
It's
they
the
give
Sears
you
President's Day Appliance event where you can save up
a
to
couple of other
40% off
items with it.
appliances, like this
But
Kenmore
the
French
one
door
that you
stainless steel
want for the
refrigerator. Now,
radiation is the Survival bottle. It's called Survival. So make sure when you call, because they sell ones that just raise the pH, make sure if you call, you tell them you want the Survival bottle, the one that takes the radiation out. And those are all on sale right now. They've got them When I first started looking, they wanted $100 for one bottle. Well, they're running this sale right now, and you can buy 7 of them for $77.
My God! Hey, do you think if they came out with a new bottled water company called Fukushima, do you think it would sell?
I don't know. You know, anyone that wants to look at this stuff, just go to jimbaker.com, and it'll pull up the site, and then on the top of the page it says store. Click on that, and it'll take you to all the stuff they're selling. But like I said, they're having a marathon right now, so all this stuff's on sale, you know, so get in on the sale while you can.
Yeah, I'd definitely look into that. You know, I mean, every single month I make a point of stocking up on the cases of bottled water. It's just something that I've been doing for some time now because, I mean, you know, you're going to have to keep your body hydrated, even if it's 1 8-ounce bottle of water per day, but you have to be able to calculate if you have a larger family. So, you know, you would have to calculate out, okay, you know, we have 4 members, so that's 4 bottles of water per day per person for at least 30 days. But I'm going to be quite honest with you. You know, these events are going to last a hell of a lot longer than 30 days. I mean, you know, one misconception that people don't understand, and I want you to understand this today, that this is not just going to be an overnight event and then things are going to be bad. No, this is going to be an event that's going to stretch anywhere from 6 to 9 months, possibly a year.
Yeah.
You know, and during that year,
one of the things they said on the show one time is they took a trip to Africa, and there was a lake that said, "Do not drink this water, contaminated." And they filled their water bottles out of that lake and drank it, and nobody got sick.
well, you couldn't get me to do that. you couldn't get me to do that.
He also filled his water bottle out of the Mississippi River. That's all muddy-looking water, and it came out crystal clear. So he really stands by these water bottles, and I agree. You know, I've seen a lot of evidence, and they've had the owner of the company on the show quite a few times. And I think that, you know, like we were talking about the freeze-dried food, it's not going to do you any good if you're using contaminated water to try to hydrate it with.
Yeah, that is true. You know, I mean, a lot of these foods from the Food for Liberty, a lot of these you don't have to hydrate. Some of them you do, some of them you don't. They're very good meals. I was looking at their, you know, menu, and I mean, if you were down to 1 bottle of water and 1 meal a day, you know, and you had the choice of, you know, eating leaves off a tree or, you know, eating one of these meals, well, there you go. You know, and we still have a lot of time. We still have a lot of time for this preparation. And even if your preparation is minor, just start getting it done. You know, I mean, I was talking.
Someone in the chat room wants to know, do you think that Nibiru is pulling the energy from the sun and weakening it right now?
I don't think it's the actual planet Nibiru. It would be the brown dwarf star that's been interacting with our sun for quite some time. It's just a fact. I mean, again, the video that I did today showing the sun from October to where we are right now in February, just looking at all of the coronal holes that are opening up on the sun every single day. This is very, very unusual. You're not hearing too much about it in the scientific community because, you know, they're probably under some very strict federal disclosure paperwork that they've signed. But I'm sure it's confusing them. And it's not confusing me because I know exactly why it's occurring. And that brown dwarf is sucking the energy from the sun, and it is actually gaining energy. Now, I was reading a paper that states that if a brown dwarf does interact with a sun like ours, that it can actually regenerate. It can actually gain more internal power, more mass. Now, it won't fuse, you know, and be like our sun because they're 2 totally different monsters. But, you know, a brown dwarf compared to the sun is small compared to the sun, but it has a lot of mass with its diameter and its size. And they're very powerful, very powerful. And that is what's interacting with our sun. That is what will interact with our Earth. And if the theory of the passing of Nibiru closest to our planet and Venus comes into play, the structure of Nibiru is said to be rock, iron, and nickel of its composition. Then it will definitely interact with the Earth because it is supposed to have a much stronger magnetic field than the Earth. So if it comes within 150 million miles or 250 million miles from the Earth, it is going to interact with our planet and it will tilt our planet. That is a fact. Now, I want to...
Another thing that people are going to need, Scott, are the iodine tablets. And those are on sale right now on a website called Emergency Essentials. And you can get a 2-week pack of it for $11. And when they were selling those a few years ago, it was like $22. And I did some research on that. And the dosage for one person is you're supposed to take one tablet for 4 weeks. So you would need 2 packages for one person. But they're doing a big sale, President's Day sale right now. And they still have the iodine tablets in stock. So that's something that everybody's going to want to have because, like I said, when those plants melt down, you have to have that iodine in your system before. You can't take it 2 weeks after you're radiated. It's not going to do you any good.
Yeah, most definitely.
You have another question in the chat. Somebody wants to know if you believe that we're going through an ice age right now.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I do not believe that we are going through any type of an ice age. What I think is happening, like I had mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, I monitor the jet stream, and the jet stream is and has been very erratic, probably throughout the entire fall going into the winter. That's why we're having very, very strange and unusual weather all around the northern hemisphere of this planet. And it's not affecting the southern hemisphere that much as it is the northern hemisphere, because the majority of the population on this planet is in the northern hemisphere. And the jet stream is absolutely out of control. It is so erratic that I would love to sit down with a meteorologist face to face without anybody around and let him look at it and tell me the damn truth. Not what you're going to see on TV, but I want the truth. But I know enough about weather, and I've been monitoring it and watching it and learning about it for a long time. That jet stream is totally out of control, and that is why we are having these bouts of, for a couple of days it will be cold, some snow will come in, and then you wake up, the sun's shining, and it's 60 degrees.
Yep.
Like it was today. When I woke up this morning, it was 22 degrees, there was snow on the ground. By 9 a.m., the temperature rose to 42 degrees, the sun was out, the snow was gone, and we hit a temperature of 58. Tomorrow, it's going to be 62. And I live in the Northeast. The daytime temperatures shouldn't be over 25.
We're going through the same thing here, Scott.
Exactly.
We're down in the 20s, and today we were almost 50, and tomorrow they're predicting 60.
Yep, absolutely. And this is going to continue.
2 weeks ago, we had the same thing.
Yeah,
it
this
was
is
up in the 50s and 60s, and then it went and got cold and snowed and froze everything again, and now we're warming back up.
Yeah,
And, it's just wreaking havoc on the planet.
Yeah, and
when you've got 60-degree weather for 4 or 5 days, they start thinking it's spring, and then all of a sudden it freezes again.
Yeah, well, we're going through a wobble cycle, and that's what I was trying to explain. We are, there is something that's pulling on our Earth somewhat, and we are going through this kind of an Earth wobble. And if you think about it, if you wobble the Earth away from the sun, you wobble it a little bit and throw in the erratic jet stream, what's going to happen? A couple of days or for a week, you're going to have warm weather. And then when you wobble the other direction, you're going to force Arctic air mixing in with warm air. And what does that produce? Snow, rain, weather systems. So again, if the people are not paying attention to what's happening, And just these are just basic factors. Come on, man. You know, if you live in the northeast part of the United States, you know what February's like.
Yeah.
It's not 60 degrees.
You know what cracks me up, Scott, is the weatherman. They
Oh.
just act like, oh, it's going to be nice. Well, we can't wait till it's 60 this weekend, and they're acting like it's, no big deal.
Oh, yeah. Believe me, I don't even watch the weather. I don't even watch the weather report because I've already seen how the cycle has developed where I live. And the cycle is about every 6 days. So every 6 days, we get a cold front. The cold front sticks around for about 3 to 4 days, and then we're right back to
Yeah,
the
we get a warm front.
exactly. So that's how it's been.
We've got a few people that just called in. For the people that are on the phone, if you wish to speak to Scott, please push *8, and that will raise your hand, and it'll let me know that you'd like to speak to Scott, ask him a question, and we just had someone raise their hand. So let's take this call.
Who do
Welcome to the show.
we got here?
Missouri.
Hello.
Hello.
I have a question. I was wondering, I've listened to several different people about preparing for this, and some say that you need to be in a cave for some period of time, and some people say you don't need to, and on Zeta Talk, they say you can just have like a small shallow area to get in, and I was just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I've heard all of the Zeta Talk, and I know exactly what part of that you're talking about. Dig a hole and put something over your head. Well, I'll be honest. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. That's not going to work.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah, what they're referring to is going into a cave during earthquakes is not a good idea.
Right.
But going into a cave during a very severe meteor shower, because in theory, there is a very long debris trail that the Earth will pass through, and that debris trail is over, in theory, 1 million plus miles long. Now, we as the common people have not seen that. Nobody on the face of this earth has seen that, but it was written in these Chinese writings dating back 4,000 and 5,000 years. It's in the Bible. So we have to take some of that and think, okay, well, this did happen. So if you just think about it, if there is an earthquake, you're not going to want to be in a structure that is, unsound. Like, for instance, I was thinking about, where I live, I have a lot of abandoned coal mines that have been there since the turn of the century. And yeah, you can go down into these caves or these coal mines, but do you really want to be underground during a magnitude 8, 9, or 10 earthquake? No, you do not. Do you want to be above ground? Well, you might not have a choice because you only have 2 choices. Those choices are going to be underground or above ground.
I had a thought on the debris field, Scott, and, there's a lot of those big round pipes, those metal pipes that go underneath the roads, and that would probably be a good place to try to get into when the debris field meteors are hitting, or maybe possibly under a bridge, because I spoke with Marshall Masters, and he said that the debris field is going to pepper the planet with meteors that are going to be 50 to 100 pounds, and, and he said we will go through that debris field twice.
Yeah.
Do they know how long it will last each time?
Well, I don't know, honey. I'm going to have Marshall on March 3rd, and you're more than welcome to call in and ask him any questions you want.
Okay, well, you just hear different things, like between the caves or the bunker, and then you hear it's not safe to be in there during the earthquake, so I just thought I'd call in and ask what your thoughts were on it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, that's my personal opinion. I wouldn't want to be in a cave while the earth is shaking, because a large piece of rock can fracture up above you. You're not going to see it. It can hit you in the head. It can kill you, knock you out, and injure you severely. So being under a structure, you have to remember something. a lot of the structures, bridges, overpasses, a lot of these things in the United States are deteriorating and have been deteriorating, so I wouldn't trust them. Being in a cave,
Right.
being in a cave that I'm not familiar with, I mean, it's a very, very tough thing to judge, but you don't want to be outside running around if we are being pelted by debris, coming out of the cosmos and smashing into the earth. Now, these meteors, they do impact the earth between, 20 and 40,000 miles per hour. The kinetic energy, is just absolutely off the chart. The sound percussion, the sound wave can kill you from miles away, not just the blast.
Well, one thing we got to keep in mind, too, and Marshall had pointed this out to me Sunday when I talked to him, is that when those meteors start to hit the planet, we have no idea where they're going to hit. It depends on which way the Earth is facing it when we go through it. They could possibly be hitting in the ocean, or they could possibly be hitting on the other side where Europe is. We don't know. We have no idea when they start hitting us which continent's going to get hit.
Well, I think you're going to see. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you think that as far as your supplies that you have and all that, do you think that they need to be buried in a shelter underground?
No, I wouldn't go to that extent because, in the case of an emergency, you need to get to those supplies. You don't want to be wasting time digging them up. I would keep them as close.
You don't think the wind will be so strong that it would just blow everything away like some people say?
Well, let's just put it this way. If the wind is that strong to blow your supplies away, it's going to blow you away also. So you may be flying through the air chasing your supplies, but again, taking the thought process to where you live and your surroundings and just putting some thought into it and thinking to yourself, hey, listen, where would be a safe place for this stuff? And it's a very, very hard thought process to put this together. And that's why I've been telling people for a long time, getting yourself together, getting the preparation plan together is just not something you're going to do overnight or in a few hours. It does take some thought. Taking a look around your geographical area, where you live. If you want to get to a safe zone that you have planned to get to, it better be within 5 miles. Unless you have days and days and days of a warning, then you can get far away to a safe zone if you have one. Like these people that have all of these bunkers in the Ozarks in Arkansas. Now, they say that, okay, we get this 45-day or 30-day warning. Okay, that's my signal. I'm heading down to my bunker, locking myself up, and we'll just wait this out. So these people are going to be heading into those caves in the Ozarks, and that's what they're doing. I don't know if I want to be in a cave during the earth rocking and these earthquakes. Now, you have the other factor of these high winds that are supposed to pour in anywhere from 150 to 300 miles per hour, depending on where you're at on the earth. So again, we have a lot of theories, we have a lot of factors, we have a lot of unknowns. And I wish I had all of the answers, because if I had all of the answers, I would be holding seminars in stadiums around the globe. They would probably kill me if I did that. But again, it's just taking a look around where you are at, where you live, taking a drive around your community, taking a look at a structure or a place and say, hey, that might look like a place that I could kind of hide out during this situation. And this may be a place where I can, hang out for this time period during earthquakes. Earthquakes are very tricky because everything is shaking. The ground is cracking open. The ground is rising. It's shaking. It's a very, very trying time. I've never been in an earthquake, but I've seen plenty of footage. I report on earthquakes every single day. I examine the information. I've yet to be in one, and I think that day is going to come pretty soon, even though I live on the East Coast. The New Madrid fault will definitely be shaking, and I'll probably be feeling some earthquakes here in the Pittsburgh area, no doubt. But take my advice and look around your general area where you live. Take a little drive, analyze this situation, and maybe get your family involved because more heads are better than one. and try to put that thought process together, and just think, things falling out of the sky. Okay, the earth shaking. Okay, wind. So all of these factors, you have to try to put them together. And listen, this is not an easy plan to think about and put together. It's difficult, and it does take some time. It does take some analyzation to try to figure this out. And not everybody's going to figure it out. And that's the sad part. In my preparation, hey, listen, I've been doing this for years, but I could make a wrong move and it can cost me my life.
Well, I look at it this way, Scott. None of us know if we're going to make it through it. But if we do survive it, we're going to want to have the things to eat and get through it. And if we don't, then that's God's will.
Yes, correct.
That's the way I look at it, too. I think so, too.
Yeah, and on a religious standpoint, I just want to, end with that. I think about my human life all the time. And what keeps me from not being afraid is knowing for a fact that when I leave this human body, I am going to a place where I will have no fear and no worries, and the rest of my energy existence will be a happy time. So even though I like my human body, everybody does, nobody wants to die, leave your human body is what I'm referring to. But knowing that there is a better place, whether it be with God or aliens, there is a better place.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, I've told my kids, I think that you have to be prepared to die and be prepared to live, because you don't know
absolutely
which one's going to happen.
Absolutely.
So,
And my luck, I'll probably live through all of this. I'll probably live to be like 120, and I'll go through every bit of it.
Well, thank you for all the research you do. I listen to your channel every day, and I really appreciate all you do.
I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the information.
You got it.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you for calling in, honey.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you guys, we have gone a little bit over tonight, but I hope you enjoyed the show, and Scott and I will be out here again next month, hopefully, if we still have internet and electricity. We decided that we are going to come out here every third Friday of the month and do this show where we'll take calls and let you call in and ask questions. And again, Scott, I want to thank you for all your information, keeping us informed, and bless you, and have no fear, and we love you all.
Absolutely, I feel the same way, and I thank you very much for having me on and giving me the platform to reach other people and giving these folks a voice, because that's exactly what you do. You give these people an actual voice that everyone else can hear, and that puts realism to this investigation, our research, and what we're trying to accomplish. So I thank you also.
Well, it's my pleasure, honey. I mean, Marshall Masters told me Sunday that I was chosen to do this. So, and I go through a lot of crap, you know that.
Oh, me too. Me too. And that's definitely true. I believe that there is a group of us that have basically been given this job. And this job is to inform people. We have been given the light inside of our brains. We've been given the willpower and the backbone to do this. And now this is what I do. This has become my life. I feel like I didn't choose it, but it was placed in my path. Yes, exactly. It's here. I'm going to continue. Like I've said before, I will continue until I take my last breath. But even if I take my last breath and I leave this human body, I will be forever here in my energy. That much is a fact. Nobody can take that away from me. Nobody.
Well, we have to stay strong, and we have no idea what's going to happen in the future, people, but as long as we can come out here, we're going to be here to take your calls, answer your questions, and try to help and guide you through this.
Absolutely. Well, listen, you take
Now,
care of
that
yourself.
being said,
Yeah, you take care of
you
yourself.
Take care of yourself. Keep doing the good work that you're doing, and try to tune in when Marshall's on the 3rd and talk to him.
Yeah, I absolutely will. If you could just, that day, if you could shoot me a little message, inbox me on Facebook, remind me, because most of the time during my days, I don't know what day it is.
I've been there.
Yeah, sometimes I even.
I'll send you a reminder, and I'll also send you that link out for that radio.
Yep, that sounds real good.
Okay, honey. Well, God bless, and we'll keep in touch. And on that note, everybody, I want to thank you all for joining us, and keep safe, keep your spirits up, have no fear, and I'm going to close out with my closing bumper song.
You are muted.
He has been very good to me. He's been calling me, privately at home, and he hooked me up with a couple people that I'm going to have on as guests, and one of them is going to be Marshall Masters.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I haven't talked to Marshall in, oh boy, quite some time. It's probably been
I
a couple months.
Marshall Sunday for about 3 hours. God, he's a fascinating man.
Yeah, the last time I talked to him, he was just getting ready to release his next book.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this was about a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
he told me some things that kind of freaked me out, like because I was telling him about how I started doing my shows and how I got led into this topic, and he told me that he feels that I did this in a past life and that I came here to do this directly to help the people with the transition of crossing over.
well, I think I've been through a couple past lives, to tell you the truth. There's no doubt about that. I think I was a 1930s Italian gangster in Chicago.
Oh my God, it's so weird that you said that, Scott, because I know I had a past life back then. I know all the music from back then, and I don't know how I know it. And I also had a couple vivid dreams with me wearing the, you know how they used to wear those hats back then? The women used to wear those hats.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a couple dreams of me wearing those hats. And I had a past life vision of being an Indian. So I know I've had a few past lives.
Yeah, I know I did. I had a whole series of dreams for about a year that took me from my birth all the way through my childhood in the turn of the century, 1900, 1901, all the way through the 1930s. And yeah, it was very vivid. I'll have to sit down and tell you about it one day, but it was a whole series of dreams, like going chapter through chapter in a book in vivid full color. And I mean, I did see a psychic lady friend of mine she's in her late 70s, but she actually confirmed it. She told me about it before I even mentioned it to her, and she's done pretty well in the law enforcement community. Oh, back in the late 70s here in the Pittsburgh area, she did a lot for helping finding missing children, missing people, unsolved murders, things of that nature. But she never made money off of her. She never made money off of any of it. She never wrote books or did anything. She just basically went around and and helped people that were in need. This woman, she even cured herself of double breast cancer, which the doctors at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center were completely astounded when they diagnosed her with breast cancer. And she told them, "I'll see you in 30 days and I will be cancer free." And when she went back in 30 days, she was cancer free.
And they don't like to hear that, do they, Scott?
Oh, no. They like to,
say money.
yeah, they like to kill you theirself. But you know what? I started this live stream for us on YouTube. So right now we are live on YouTube. And
okay, well, we got 60 seconds before I start my recording here. So
okay.
let me, what I'll do is I'll just get us started then. If we're running live already over there,
Yep,
I will go ahead and start us up here.
you got it. Let's rock and roll. The Nibiru channel and Fight for Our Freedom Radio.
Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fight for Our Freedom Radio. And I'm your host, Bad Baby. And tonight we have with us Scott C1 from the Nibiru channel, and we will be taking your calls. So if you call in at 1-724-444-7444 and enter 43503 # and then £1 if you're not a member, and you will be in the room. It will say you are muted. If you wish to talk to Scott or ask a question, please push star 8 and will raise your hand to us, and then we will unmute you in sequence. And we have Jeff in the room, and he says, "Hi, Scott, how are you tonight?"
Tell him I said hello. What's happening, Jeff?
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Scott, let's start out with, I want to ask you a little bit about this dam, the Oroville Dam that's about ready to break and drown everybody that's dumb enough to go back like rats.
Yeah, I got a lot of theories about that Oroville Dam. I have a good friend of mine, another Planet X investigator, Jeff P. And Jeff doesn't live too far from from that area, and he's already prepared himself for a complete evacuation. But we've both been studying this very, very hard. There's a lot of other YouTube channels, Mike from Around the World, Chris Potter, and BP Earthwatch, the Higher Truth channel. We've all been trying to keep an eye on the situation, because this situation in Oroville can be absolutely devastating to the entire state, which will then spread all the way across the United States, because I'm not sure if a lot of people know or understand, but a lot of our food chain comes from that part of California. There's a lot of ranchers out there that raise cattle, that grow vegetables and fruits and things of that nature, and that all crisscrosses across our country. If something like that were to happen, a breach of that wall, that would send, we estimated, about anywhere from a 35 to a 50-foot wall of water straight down, and eventually it would make its way all the way to the state capital of Sacramento. And this would literally just wipe everything out, the whole entire town of Oroville. Then I have a good friend of mine, Kathy. She lives in Yuba City, right south of Oroville. She's already been evacuated, and she's back in her house now. But the situation could be very devastating if and when that would happen. If it happened at nighttime, I think that we would have a major loss of life. But it's very fishy.
Are a lot of people going back into the area, Scott? Do you know?
Yeah, a lot of people did go back in, and I've been trying to keep up with the reports, And, they've been rolling for, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was actually able to catch some like city council meetings that were streamed live from local news stations. A lot of people are very, very upset because a lot of people just do not understand what was going on before all of this happened. Okay, because this lake was almost dried up. I forget if it was either this year or last year that the lake was so dried up that archaeologists were going in there, digging around for artifacts, finding them because the level of the lake was so low. It was like a little desert. There was some water there, and it's a recreational area for boaters and, people that like to water ski and swim, and it's a beautiful place. But, these guys that run the dam, these are professionals. They know how to regulate the water level. They're very in tune with the runoff water that is coming from the eastern mountains. They have all of the technology to run this dam properly. And for some reason, I understand the saturating rains. Okay, fine. I understand there was a hole that opened up in one of the spillway runways going down to the river. Okay, fine. But allowing the river to exceed and breach its spillway wall is just absolutely uncalled for. I've spoken to a few people that have already formed conspiracy theories about, okay, this was a test run. They let this happen. They have all of the plans to allow it to happen again. And this is going to be their way, stage one, of clearing out most of California. Now, I've mentioned this before, and you can quote me on this. I mentioned it on your show a couple of times, and I warned all of the people in California that you will be the first people in this country that they are going to try to dispose of, the state of California. And 2 weeks ago, I got a message from a good friend of mine that lives in California that had a message for me. She was speaking to a gentleman who is in the major construction field, and he was ordered by his company to the Los Angeles, California area, east of LA, in a region over near the Apple Valley, for a major federal construction project to construct a FEMA earthquake evacuation camp, a massive one. And it was to be completed within the next 90 days. Okay, that's all the information that she got out of him. He said he couldn't talk about it any further, and that he would be gone because he lives in north central California, and that he would be gone for the next 3 months. So there you go. All of a sudden,
I can't believe, Scott, as long as it took everybody to get out of the area, that they would be willing to, especially knowing all the rain that's coming, they'd be willing to go back. I'm sure some people are saying, well, I have to, I work there, blah, blah, blah. But, it's crazy. I really do think they're being set up.
I think they're being set up also. I think this is going to be California's kill shot. Because you have to understand.
You're kind of breaking up a little bit, Scott. Your voice is kind of like gargly. Is there any way you can adjust it?
Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I could. Is it a little bit better now?
Yeah, that sounds a little bit better.
Yeah, it might be. It just might be this. It just might be the whole connection through the whole, the talk show, the radio setup. Because I have a full signal all the way around. But let's just hope it stays good.
Okay. Well, we do have some callers. For those that are on the phone, if you wish to speak to Scott or ask him a question, please push *8 on your phone, and that will raise your hand. And that will let me know that you would like to speak with Scott. Scott, I've been looking at a lot of video where people are going up there and videoing this water, and I looked at one today where they had actually talked to some of the guys working on it, and even the guys working on this dam are saying, don't go, get out of Oroville.
Yeah, I mean, I did a video on it with one of the main engineers that was supposedly in charge of some of the construction up there, and he turned around and said to the camera, something to the effect, "Well, we're only about 8% of the way done," and he said, I wouldn't go back to Oroville. He said, "Stay the hell out of Oroville," is what he quoted in the video that I did. I wouldn't go back there either, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a very tough situation because that's where you live. But if
We have
this,
some people in the chat room that are saying that you sound perfect through the YouTube. So it has to be because we're running a double connection or something.
well,
I don't know.
yeah, I notice it usually happens through the TalkShoe connection.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It surprises me anymore.
Yeah, they're probably trying to censor a little bit there. I notice that they do this to a lot of channels on YouTube that do stream live. They mess around with Pastor Paul Begley quite a bit. Not too long ago, he was starting one of his live streams, and all of a sudden, hardcore slasher rock music started playing through the live stream to all of his viewers, and he couldn't shut it off.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me, too. I've had them come in, unmute themselves, and scream or talk obscenities or, and, these are professional trolls that are hacking in is what it is.
Yeah, I wish they'd find another job, these trolls. They think they get on my nerves, but, they really don't. The people in the comment section of any of my videos, they pretty well handle the trolls, and they're kind of the same ones. Sometimes they use different YouTube identities, and they come in and they spew the same crap, and they say the same things. But it doesn't, they're not doing anything to me. The following for the Nibiru channel and the information, my investigations, has been growing. Oh, it's been growing pretty good, to the tune of about 5,000 to 6,000 new subscribers every single month. I just got a notification from YouTube today that last week, in just 1 week, we put on 4,000 new subscribers in 1 week, and which is good because the word needs to get out. Because right now, I've been talking a lot over the past month, letting everyone know. Listen, when we get into the middle of February, from the middle of February to the middle of March, we're going to start going through some very serious times in a little bit of a slow pattern. And come March 16th, we're going to be entering into a very, very serious planetary alignment with Jupiter, Venus, the Earth, and the Sun. And that planetary alignment is going to last all the way through towards the end of April. And just that planetary alignment is going to be very, very hard on the Earth, creating a lot of stress, which is going to induce a lot of earthquakes and a lot of volcanic activity, and maybe some things that we don't even know about. And then, once we get into the month of May, this is kind of the predicted stage, the predicted model of when we're going to be getting very, very close to this brown dwarf that is slightly below our ecliptic and in the inner orbit between Jupiter and Saturn. And then this is about the stage when we are going to really start to interact with Nemesis, and this will last anywhere from 9 months to a year. So, I've tried to make people understand this isn't going to be an overnight experience. This takes quite a while for us to get through this.
Yep.
And once it starts, go ahead.
I spoke to Marshall Masters Sunday for about 3 hours, and I asked him, and he will be on. I'm going to be having Marshall on March 3rd, and he said the same thing. He said that around through March is really going to be an uptick, and he said that it's going to be a rocky ride this year. That we're going to have one heck of a time as far as weather changes and volcanoes and earthquakes. He said you're going to see a great uptick in it. And we already are seeing that.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, for those that are listening through YouTube, if you want to speak with Scott, you have to call in to 1-724-444-7444 and then enter 43503 pound and then 1 pound. And you will be in my board. Then you push *8 to raise your hand to me, and that will let me know that you would like to ask Scott a question or speak with him. I do have a few callers in the window right now. No one has raised their hand yet. I don't know. Maybe I'll just unmute somebody and see if they have a question. Welcome to the call, New York. Do you have a question?